Hello YouTube family, Merry Christmas and a huge Happy New Year to all of you. With the 2026 World Cup on the way, the energy in the football world is already building and we are thrilled to be sharing it with this amazing community. To celebrate, we have lined up some holiday surprises in the Goal 90 shop. A bunch of your favourite jerseys are already up to 50% off, shipping is on us, and because you are part of our YouTube fam, you can grab an extra 10% off with the code YouTubeFam. Thanks for all the love and support. 2026 is going to be massive. Let's enjoy every moment together.
Every January, clubs tell themselves they can wait. Then summer hits, the same targets explode in price, and suddenly it's a bidding war, not a deal. Today, we're counting down 7 players you can still grab before the summer tax kicks in, because if you blink, you will pay double. Coming in at number 7, Rodrygo Goes. This one is sneaky because the name is massive, but the minutes haven't been. In LaLiga this season, Rodrigo has 5 starts and about 558 minutes played. Super low for a guy who can decide Champions League nights. Then came the Manchester City game and it felt like the switch flipped. Rodrigo opened the scoring at the Bernabeu. City still turned it around to win 2-1, but that goal mattered. It was reported as his first in 32 matches, and of course it had to happen against City, his favourite UCL opponent. After the match, Pep Guardiola admitted he went to Rodrigo and basically praised him as from another level, and City interest has floated around him in transfer conversations before, which only adds fuel. Since that game, he's actually starting again and impacting matches. Real Madrid's own recap of his December run says he's posted 2 goals, an assist and won a penalty in the last 4 games of the month. But this is why it's a move early name. His status still isn't locked. Xabi Alonso is still tweaking his best 11, and he suggested Rodrigo's best fit is on the left, the same lane Vinicius usually owns. So Rodrigo's role can swing week to week. He can play on the right, but Franco Mastantuono is coming back from his injury layoff and pushing for minutes, while Brahim Diaz is away at the AFCON and in red-hot form for Morocco, so that competition is only getting tougher. That's why a strong January offer could tempt both Madrid and Rodrigo before he finishes the season on fire, because if he does, the price goes from expensive to don't even call us. At number 6, Andrea Cambiaso. Cambiaso is basically Juventus' Swiss Army knife. He can start at left back, right back, or step into midfield as an inverted fullback when Juve want extra control. He's been solid this season, and the more he plays, the more obvious it is that he's a system player, not just a runner on the touchline. That versatility is exactly why the interest keeps building. Manchester City have been linked for a while because they keep scanning the market for a right back profile who can also help in build-up. Liverpool have been mentioned too, because they love players who can cover multiple roles without changing the whole shape. And when you've had clubs like Aston Villa sniffing around in the past, it tells you the appeal isn't just big club hype, it's genuine. Juve also aren't naive. They've already got him locked down long-term, reportedly to 2029, which means they're negotiating from strength, not pressure. If they sell, they want it on their terms. But is a deal possible now? January is when sellers sometimes choose certainty over drama. If a buyer shows up with a serious fee, a clean payment structure and a clear plan for the player, Juventus can take the money, protect their squad balance and replace quickly before the summer chaos starts. Because if you wait for the summer, more clubs join, budgets reset, agents push auctions and Juventus can raise the price without blinking again. Now for number 5, this is the winger where one hot spring run can turn a reasonable fee into a full-on bidding war. Kareem Ariimi. He's in a similar situation with Rodrigo. He's not frozen out, but he's also not treated like the untouchable star every single week. He's been rotated and managed, starting a lot of games but also coming off the bench. And even when he starts, he's often one of the first attackers to get pulled when Dortmund want more control. That starter but also first sub life is exactly why the tension shows up. Right before the winter break, Dortmund's manager said they'd be fine without him after he reacted angrily to being substituted in their 2-0 win over Gladbach. But we know how dangerous he can be, and interest from multiple clubs is building. Manchester United have been reported as one of the clubs to hold talks with his agent Jorge Mendes. And once Mendes is involved, you already know that the summer can turn into a full-on bidding war. Dortmund see it coming too, which is why they've opened contract talks. His deal runs to 2027 and Dortmund now want to extend him further. That's why he gets more expensive in the summer. So January is the window where a serious club can still negotiate before this becomes a summer auction. Next up at number 4, Saeed El Mala. He's the definition of a price is rising in real time winger. Köln extended his contract until 2030 without a release clause, and the club has been pretty clear that they see him as a long-term project, not a quick sale. Now add the interest. Manchester City have been linked through reports saying Pep Guardiola has been impressed and City scouts have been watching him closely, with Bayern and Dortmund also credited as admirers. And once that tier of clubs is watching, the Premier League rumour machine naturally goes into overdrive. Manchester United, Liverpool and Chelsea have all been mentioned. But Köln already have the power to raise the number, and reports have suggested they'd demand more than 40 million euros next summer. Second, if he keeps popping through spring, the buyer list gets longer and Köln can just wait for a bidding war. But January is when you try the deal you can't refuse approach. Big upfront fee, clean structure and even a loan back until June so Köln don't lose him mid-season. Move early, pay strong, make it painless, and you may tempt Köln to sell. At number 3, Aubadi. Lille have recently locked him down until 2029 with no confirmed release clause, and that lets them set the market. But Lille know that PSG and top Premier League teams are monitoring him, so reports say Lille are already putting a huge price tag on him, often framed as 50 million euros or more, and with more clubs interested, that number doesn't stay calm for long. Not to mention, if Aubadi keeps improving through spring, more clubs join the chase. Then Lille can push the fee higher with zero pressure to sell because the contract protects them. A serious offer, big upfront money, clean payments and maybe even a loan back might tempt Lille. Add bonuses and a sell-on clause and you might get a conversation started, but wait until summer and it becomes an auction. Next up, we're entering the release clause zone, where the price is cheap right up until someone activates it. Number 2, Fistnakasani from Hoffenheim. He is an interesting deal this January because his price tag is still reasonable for now. Reports say his contract includes a release clause under 30 million euros, which is the kind of number big clubs can actually act on without weeks of drama. Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund have been linked and Barcelona have been mentioned too. But the real point is this: if he keeps scoring in spring, more clubs notice him and then it becomes a race. And when it's a race, the total cost jumps fast. Wages, bonuses, agent fees, all of it. And even if that clause is mainly a summer trigger, a deal can still happen now. January is when a selling club might make a strong offer because it's clean money, paid early, and it removes the risk of form dropping or an injury. So if one club moves first and offers a serious fee with a simple structure, Hoffenheim might say yes before the summer crowd arrives. Wait too long and you're not negotiating, you're bidding. Finally, number 1, Rodrigo Mendoza. Elche have just renewed their creative, controlling midfielder until 2028. But this is the cleanest move early deal on the whole list, because reports say that renewed contract includes a 20 million euro release clause. That's huge because if a big club really wants him, they don't need weeks of back and forth. They can trigger the clause, get the agreement done fast, and focus on the only real battle, convincing the player. And he's the kind of profile clubs fight over because he's still young, still improving, and he plays like someone who can handle the ball under pressure. That's why the interest is already loud. He's been linked with Manchester City, Real Madrid, and Juventus, and Arsenal have also been mentioned as monitoring the situation too. Wait until summer, then more clubs join the race and the total package balloons. Wages, agent fees, bonuses, the lot. That's how a bargain clause ends up becoming an expensive signing. If you enjoyed this countdown, hit like and subscribe, because January is where smart clubs steal value and desperate clubs make mistakes. Comment which player your club should move for right now and who you think is the biggest overpay risk. And watch the next Goal 90 video on your screen. Catch you in the next one. Bye.